So we're driving on Walnut Street, which is where I grew up, and also where when I was about 9, I became a paper girl, and this was my route. It was a pretty nice and safe neighborhood back then. I was the only girl that delivered the paper, and I always say that delivering the paper is where I learned how to be a reporter, because you had to deal with everybody. You have to negotiate, you have to collect from skinflints on the weekend, and this used to be a really close-knit neighborhood. And about that time, some of the factories started closing, and I remember my mom sending a letter saying, Urbana's turning into a ghost town. Urbana is, if you drove through it right now, it is one of the cutest hometowns in America. That is on the surface. It's adorable. There's a brewery downtown. There's some new restaurants, largely started by out-of-towners moving to Urbana because it's close to Columbus. But if you get about 2 blocks away from the town square, you start to see the underbelly. And as a friend of mine put it, there's a lot of pain hidden in those distressed buildings. One of the things that really distinguished Urbana now from Urbana 40 years ago was the number of parents in the community who thought it was okay not to send their kids to school regularly. It's a complicated story, but it came up when I interviewed judges, when I interviewed police officers, attendance officers, and the same parents who aren't sending their kids to school are also not showing up to work. And so when I would talk to factory owners and managers and economic developers, the absenteeism in the workplace is just as bad as the absenteeism in the schools. And what you saw with some factories were they were busing in Haitian immigrants from nearby Springfield. And we saw how that turned into a huge national story during the run-up to the election of 24. 2 years ago, when I started the book, I wanted to shadow a young person who would sort of stand in as a young me. And so I went back to the schools and I talked to teachers, band director, counselors, saying, who's promising but poor and has had to struggle in education? And they all recommended I talk to this kid named Silas James, who had been the drum major, who was really smart, but we were very different too. We both came from families of addiction and poverty, but Silas was trans. His life had been much harder. He was homeless his junior and senior year. He had lost his dad to overdose. His mom was in and out of prison. He really had to scramble. And yet he managed to be the drum major and to get a double scholarship to a community college. Over the course of 2 years of following his story, I just saw how hard it was. He didn't have a way to get to his community college, which was an hour away. Some weeks he didn't have gas to put in his car. He went through something like 5 jobs in the year I watched him, and 5 clunker cars. And when I reported back to the teachers who had suggested I profile Silas, they all said, that's who the new Beth Macy is today. And it was shocking to me.